Welcome to Barrier Webs. I'm your host, Vale Chikuni. We begin, Mrs. Farmer. Okay, yes, we have Lady Candace because she put out a program that she said that she could not sleep. Okay, so she had to bring this news as soon as possible. So that's what we're going to get into it right now. Okay, so welcome. I appreciate your viewership. So let's just get right into it, okay? Here we go. Lady Candace, aka Mrs. Farmer. All right, here we go, guys.
That the last time that I spoke at Turning Point USA's conference in 2024, there was this random sidebar conversation that I had with Tyler Boyer. Tyler Boyer is the king of shady at Turning Point USA. He is the one, like I said, he has hired every person around Charlie. joke's on you if you think Turning Point USA is a Christian organization. It's a Mormon one, okay? And Tyler Boyer said to me backstage, there was something going on with like Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes. I can't recall. This is, again, 2024. And I said to him, why don't you just have Charlie debate Nick? Like the common sense thing to me is just like have the debate, right? It's not a big, it's like all of this. I think Nick had maybe come actually to the conference with like some people because he was doing that for a little bit. And I was like, why don't you just like debate him? Like, I don't know, I'm like pro conversation. And Tyler said to me, Turning Point USA will just always be pro-Israel. Like we're just never not going to be pro-Israel. Didn't think anything of it at the time, but in retrospect, it's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, what do you mean we'll never be anti-Israel?
All right, so obviously Tyler Boyer is next on Lady Candace list, okay? So we're going to get into that commentary shortly. So this is what Candace put out, okay? So I'm going to read this to you guys. All right, so let's see. That way you guys are able to see as well. Okay, so this is Candace Owens who tweeted this out, and I quote, with all we have crowdsourced, it looks like a decision to murder Charlie Kirk in Utah was made around July 18th. A military meeting with foreign leaders took place on July 20th on U.S. soil. The plane flew into Provo, direct from France, on September 4th and stayed until just after Charlie was assassinated, flying out of Wilmington on that day. The plane returned home to Egypt following the day on September. So this information has been refuted as far as the time frame of the plane, but she hasn't yet corrected the record, okay? So today she's going to get into it, how this flight situation took place. So this is what she put out, okay? So she's about to bring us the information that we've been waiting for. Take a look at this. Cannot sleep. Discovered something in this Charlie Kirk mystery that is incomprehensibly dark. They all betrayed him. May need to kick the non-fiction stone interview until Monday and go live tomorrow, early and steady. So usually she doesn't do podcasts on Fridays, but this was so pressing that she had to take care of it. Why? Because now she has evidence to support what happened. So let's get into the video where she is presenting this evidence. So you tell me if she has found the smoking gun or this is the evidence as she has promised, okay? So let's listen in to her video over here. I'll be stopping it along the way, okay? Here we go, guys. Walk.
You guys know, but I am positively exhausted. I have been up all night realizing what we were suddenly on the brink of, stumbled into it. I wouldn't even say accidentally. Obviously, this has been my obsession since we all watched Charlie Kirk be executed in front of the world. And then a lot of people lie about it. And a lot of people who were not acting right or grieving right, who were his closest comrades and business partners. And let's be frank, as I get inch closer and closer to discovering the truth, we should recognize that this is pretty dangerous stuff. And my theory now, I feel confident stating that Charlie Kirk was taken out by something much bigger than Turning Point USA organization that he was running, and certainly much bigger than Tyler Robinson on the Low C rooftop, who I don't even think was even stepped foot on the campus that day. And I think another thing that I should mention is just how positively sad it is. We can reflect on how sad it is already that there are so many people in the world who are convinced. They've emailed me. I mean, I've received an unbelievable amount of emails from people that are convinced that Charlie's actually still alive, right? And it's not sad because those people are crazy. They're actually reacting to the lack of emotion and the lack of drive that is coming out of Turning Point USA to figure out who killed him. That's what they're reacting to. So like they came to, okay, this is so unnatural, the reaction of these individuals who were so close to him, that the more logical, sensible conclusion is that they actually know where Charlie is and he's perfectly alive. Yeah, that is how absurd they are acting. Just move on. Just donate to Turning Point USA. This is what Charlie would want. And that's his legacy. So what happened? Why are we here? Why are we live on Friday? I gave up Fridays, but this is so relevant to what's happening. And I wanted to get this information out so that everyone in the world who hasn't helping me investigate could have the weekend to do research and we can information share. The answer to the centralized intelligence agency, as we have said, is the decentralized intelligence agency. We must decentralize ourselves to plug out of this utterly demonic system. Anyway, what happened yesterday was, obviously I did the show and I circled back to the Egyptian military plane. I had simply tweeted about it while I was in Wyoming, obviously recognizing that it was not normal that this Egyptian military plane had departed on the morning of Charlie's assassination. Now, I made the mistake of thinking it had departed in the afternoon, and the reaction to it. This is how you always know the give is they overreact to something and then the military bots make it a trending story. Like there's no way this was trending. This guy correcting me on the timing and he tweets it and the next thing you know, it's trending. Egyptian plane debunked. It was not debunked. I showed you that yesterday. Okay. Thanks to a very brave person, a foreigner actually, who informed me that the people who came in on that plane were not the people that went out on that plane. So where did they go? They were estimating like approximately 18 people were on the plane that came over and far less were on the way back. Where did these people go? Well, let me tell you something. As you know, because I am relying on you guys for tips, I'm grateful that I have a platform, but I don't exist without you guys. I'm always checking the comments to see if I got something wrong, if I made a mistake, if there's something that I missed. And somebody I just happened to catch gave a live comment right after the show. I was looking at your comments and he said, oh, Candace, that plane we covered, the tail number SUBTT, just so you know, like a year earlier, that plane was in Utah at the same time as Charlie Kirk. In 2024, I was like, oh, that's pretty ironic if that's true. I was like, probably not true, except it actually was true. So I started last night and I said, okay, maybe that was a coincidence. Let me actually, since I presented that timeline for you every time I came to America, see if it was always near Charlie Kirk, if it was always near some big turning point event, if something was going on with Turning Point. And the answer, you guys, if you thought once was maybe, twice was a coincidence, 3 times we have a conspiracy, we're at about every single time that we could go back on this plane, and we're not done, obviously. There was something happening at Turning Point USA that was neighboring, okay, in the same city. So I'm going to take you through this timeline. This is so shocking to me, and I've color coordinated this timeline. I'm sure there are going to be some errors. Pick them up, Zionists. Go hard. Make a trend. For the rest of us, let me know if there's slight adjustments that need to be made. But I think we've done a pretty thorough job. So I'm going to let you know what you are looking at, okay? Tail number, there's 2 actually Egyptian planes, because then somebody else mentioned to me, hey, Candace, there was another Egyptian plane that left 3 hours after, Egyptian military plane that is, 3 hours after Charlie was assassinated from Provo, Utah. And that tail number is SUBND. And you should take a look at that. And I thought to myself, okay, I'll take a look at that. Maybe that's where the rest of the passengers went. Maybe that emptied SUBTT left in the morning and 3 hours after Charlie was assassinated, or maybe it's the next day. 3 days after, Marcus corrected me in my ear, 3 days after Charlie was assassinated, that's when the rest of the Egyptian crew, whoever was on that plane, departed Provo. So we have 2 tail numbers and they're going to be color coordinated to make it really easy for you. Okay. Tail number SUBND. That's a Gulfstream 4. It's about 12 to 6 passengers. And tail number SUBTT, that's going to be our main one. That's our Falcon 7X. Again, holds about 12 to 16 passengers. Now, for those of you who are not jumping around, flying on private jets all the time, the tail number essentially is like, the best way to think of it is like a public plane, we'll say American Airlines on it, right? In order for systems to know how planes are moving in the sky, they kind of have to give them a license plate in the sky, so to speak, right? So the tail number is a unique license plate that literally is called the tail number because it's on the tail of the plane, okay? We're going to start with, and I'm going to show you this. I'm showing you this just because 2022, as you can see, I haven't made any notes on this because I haven't gotten back that far. But these are the 4 times that BTT, so if they're both SU, that BTT was here in 2022. That's the furthest that we can go back on flight radar. Now we're going to go into 2023, and I have included notes that I think might be relevant to the story. So in 2000 and
Okay, so sorry guys, I didn't even know that I was muted, so thank you. Okay. So she's out here giving us this information about this plane, right? So we are following Lady Candace, okay? So we can ascertain, because we also want to know what happened to Charlie Kirk, okay? Because, what happened to him was wrong. We don't want that to happen to anybody else. So if there's lunatics out there running rampant in our nation right now, trying to be doing what they did to Charlie Kirk, we want to find out, okay? And they need to be brought to justice swiftly, as soon as possible. So Candace is taking us to find this investigation, okay? So we are going to follow. So right now, she's giving us, this was a military plane, okay? Are you telling me a military plane? I'm not disputing that didn't happen. But the question that I want to ask is this, right? But before we get there, so remember, we are in a quest for truth, okay? What is truth? Truth corresponds to reality. So if somebody is saying something, we should be able to verify it. Why? Because it is true. If somebody just has their opinion, if somebody just has their feelings, if somebody just has their dream, that's a whole different story. But she's giving us information as facts. So we should be able to scrutinize it. We should be able to check it logically speaking. It should not be an issue, and she should be open to that issue, okay? So, are you telling me an Egyptian plane would enter the U.S. airspace without the American people not knowing? It's a military. So now let's go in the military realm, right? But even the private plane, they always know there's freight radar. You're going to land, all these other things, right? Flight tower, all that information. That's why she's able to find this information, because it's there on this flight radar. So obviously, if the military plane came here, we might not be privy to why that military plane came in Utah, wherever else it might be, right? Because, we are civilians. But trust and believe, the people in the authority within the military, they know why the plane was here. They knew when it was coming and what is the purpose of it, right? And they know the people who were in there, so to speak, right? So unless she provides us with the evidence to prove that, yes, this plane, and is she saying that this plane just sneaked into the airspace without the authorities not knowing and then sneak back? Is that what she's implying? Is that even possible? The Americans, they can go someplace else with their, nice B-2 bombers and everything. They can, nobody can pick up on their radar. But Egyptians, they don't have that type of planes. If anything, they get their military equipment from here to there. So there's no way they can enter the American airspace. They wouldn't even dare to begin with, okay? So that's just, but let's listen in to where she's going to take us. You guys, I am so glad that you guys are here. I'm sorry, I was muted. Brother Eric, good to see you. Okay. Pauline, okay, thank you. Yes, I need to be checking my mic. I'm in the zone. I'm out here. And you guys just like, Violet, we cannot hear what you're saying. So, sorry, guys. Okay, but thank you. Okay, one more day to everybody's just screaming, no sound. And I couldn't even see. But I have glasses. Oh, man, help me out here. All right, let's continue.
And 23, Charlie Kirk, I went back on his X feed and he is hitting hard on Ukraine. I mean, like, he's tweeting out photos of Zelensky half naked because, he used to be an actor. Obviously, he's a homosexual male. He's basically demanding, keep this up the whole time, guys. I want them to be able to look through this. He's basically demanding that we pull out of the Ukrainian war. He's accusing Ukraine and Zelensky of corruption, of financial fraud, of money laundering. You go back and he's just basically declared war on the Ukrainian war, figuratively speaking, okay? And he's not siding on Team Ukraine. He's not pro-Russia, but he's not Team Ukraine. I think that's relevant, obviously, because, when you talk about money laundering around Ukraine and Romania, you're actually stepping on the heels of America, right? You're actually, that's not something that you can just say when you run this pro-American organization, given the fact that these people run our government. January 10th to 19th, I'm going to also say that I think this is relevant. Rob McCoy hosts the first ever Turning Point USA Faith Pastors Tour of Israel. He's guiding a group of pastors through Jerusalem. On February 20th, I think this might be relevant because the same people that infiltrated or hostilely took over James O'Keefe were involved with Turning Point USA. James O'Keefe was the founder and the president of Project Veritas, and he and Charlie and myself all met at the same time in November. That David Horowitz Freedom Center event that I was telling you about, James O'Keefe was really young, so we all kind of came up in this movement together and have always been very defensive of one another. So on January 20th, there's this like hostile takeover, what appears to the public at least is a hostile takeover of Project Veritas. James O'Keefe gets pushed out. He's ousted from the board of his own company, and Charlie publicly announces his support for what he perceives, like the rest of the world perceived, was a bit of a hostile takeover. Okay. February 21st, we now have BND. Okay. It flies into.
Okay. So now she's just flying through, telling us the story about there was a hostile takeover as far as Project Veritas is concerned with James O'Keefe. If my memory serves me, he was found to be, allegedly, right? Implication, something, behavior, a bad behavior. Is she going to bring that information? Because there was a reason why this guy was ousted. So why not bring that information and let your audience decide if they should believe that or not? Because it's a matter of public information. It's there. They just didn't walk up there and sideline, quote unquote, James O'Keefe. There was a reason behind it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to believe it. But at least you need to bring that information out. Don't act like, okay, this just happened. So at this point, I'm baffled. How is Ukraine implicated in this issue? How is Zelensky implicated in this issue? Okay, so I'm very confused at this point. I'm like, what? Like, okay, so those guys are fighting for their lives in Russia. The Ukrainians, I mean, it must be Zelensky, because I don't think the Ukrainians, they'll mind. Most of them, they don't even speak English and everything. So they are so concerned about Charlie Kirk. Right now, they are fighting for their life, for survival, and they'll be worried about what Charlie Kirk is saying about Ukraine. Like what's going on here? I'm confused. You guys tell me if I'm missing something. But let's continue.
To St. Louis, Missouri, and it lands at 2:38 p.m. and it's going to stay until May. The blue one you're going to see stays longer when it arrives, and then the yellow one will come behind it. BTT will come behind it. Okay. So on February 25th, BTT comes in, and BTT again, they're both flying from Cairo every time, typically through Paris, and it then lands in St. Louis, Missouri, and this is relevant because on February 27th, this person who I hadn't heard of before, named Sean Foyt, I believe I'm saying that correctly, Sean Foyt, is announced as the Turning Point USA Faith Contributor. Now, this guy is in partnership with Rob McCoy still today, and to this day at Turning Point USA, doing Turning Point USA Faith stuff. And this is also relevant because by all accounts, this guy is a sleaze. And what I mean is that people were coming forward and saying, the money's looking funny with this guy. He's not a true Christian. He's faced accusations of fraud, of embezzlement. I'm painting a picture for you. But to stay on this Sean Foyt thing, I had to actually look him up. And I saw it on his biography on Wikipedia, by the way. So I haven't done a deep dive on him by any means. But I was like, I recognize that name. And I recognize that name because many people emailed us after Charlie's assassination, and they thought Sean Foyt was the guy that was standing and cheering USA, USA. And I think he did a video and denied it, but that's the only it's the only way that I was familiar with that name. So look him up on his biography, and it tells us that he was born in Montana. He's a son of a dermatologist. That dermatologist is not named. He's, of course, a Christian Zionist, you guys, that's obvious. But he grew up playing music in a New Apostolic Reformation church, okay? New Apostolic Reformation. Going forward, we're going to term that NAR, N-A-R, okay? And he would record prayers and prophecies that were made and impacted Foyt, it says, as he was growing up, okay? He was a part of the NAR Apostle Shea On's prayer rallies, it tells us, okay? Point being is that he is involved with NAR. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that is because there is a Twitter user, an ex-user named Melissa. She goes by Mel, and she uses the handle Village Crazy Lady. And her and I have been speaking because you just know when someone is a real one out there. And I've been watching her, and I'm like, okay, she's on it. She's like me. She's a mom. We're not messing around with what's going on in the world today. And she's been calling people out left and right. She's not pro-Israel. She's also a Catholic. And when her and I spoke about this Turning Point thing, she said, are you familiar with NAR? And I said, no, Mel, I'm not familiar with NAR. What's NAR? And she was like, I'm looking into this. I'm digging into this NAR thing. There's something here. If you start talking about Rob McCoy, something's going on here. So she's going down the figurative NAR rabbit hole. If you don't know who she is, you should follow her. I told her to pin whatever she's learned about NAR to the top of her profile today. That's Village Crazy Lady. But that's the introduction. So NAR is somehow going to be relevant. Again, we are at an early phase in this investigation.
Okay, so at this point, I feel sorry for Candace Owens, because she has decided to take on about this issue, okay? And as far as this Sean Voight is concerned, Candace Owens, where have you been? You didn't know that about this Sean guy? A first teacher of them all and all these other things, right? So this is why I'm saying that there's things that have been going on as far as Turning Point USA is concerned while Charlie Kirk was still alive. Okay? So if Candace was so concerned about what was happening there, how come she wasn't doing these videos then? Like, she was so concerned, what's happening? The man is being all over the place and everything else, right? Guys, you know what I mean? Charlie Kirk himself did promote the new apostolic reformation, this 7 Mountain. Where is a video about Candace Owens saying, hey, Charlie, I don't know what direction you're going to, okay? And so watch this, okay? This is a gentleman who used to work at Turning Point USA, worked with his phone, Sean. He was the one who was, they were paying him, going to all these other places to represent, quote unquote, Turning Point USA faith. And John Root is the one who ended up losing his job. So he was there in the camp, raising the alarm inside the camp, and then he was the one who ended up, who lost his job, because he was calling out these other things. So where was Candace Owens during that time? So she's just coming to realization right now that new apostolic reformation is a problem. And these people are out here. If Paula White has an office in the White House. What do you think Paula White is? I was just like, man, like this is way in over her head. But anyway, so this is Sean, okay? So Candace, this is Sean, okay? Take a listen at this. Shout out to Justin and John Root.
Let's talk about him a little bit, because he used to be one of the worship leaders at Bethel Music, and of course that's Bill Johnson and all that. That's a goat farm of a church. It's not a real church. Bill Johnson is a hireling, but that's kind of, I guess, where he first became to be known as a leader at Bethel Music, but now in the last 5 years, really since COVID, his ministry has exploded, and now he's in the White House, and he's good friends with Pete Hegseth, and so he's running in those circles. So talk to us a little bit about Sean Voight and how you came to know him and just what kind of a guy he is.
Like most people, at this point, I didn't really know too much about Sean Voight, and I know a little bit about Bethel in 2020, and this guy's going around the country and he's doing his Let Us Worship events, and he's going against COVID mandates, and a lot of us at the time were like, I love it, like we should definitely have praise and worship and keep Christ at the center, and then we're starting to realize, like, where's this guy come from? What is he saying at these events? What are they singing at these events? And it's like most of us, when we're going to church, it's like, what are these worship songs? What's the theology in this worship song? Is it me-centered? Is it Christ-centered? How are these people making their money? And working at TPUSA Faith, I had plenty of personal conversations, text message conversations, in-person conversations, phone conversations. And Sean Voight ended up working with TPUSA Faith with an event called Kingdom to the Capital. So he's basically taking his Let Us Worship events that helped him grow in prominence, and then he came out with the Super Spreader documentary. And at this time, I'm starting to put some of these pieces together. It's like, oh, well, he's got IHOP Kansas City over here. He's connected with Bickle, and he ran for office. And he's got Chris Volaton, who falsely prophesied that Trump was going to win the second time around, along with the other false prophecies and the Bethel theology. And it's all right there. And then I see TPUSA Faith is laying out the red carpet for him, and they're paying him an exorbitant amount of money to go to every single state capital. That was the plan, at least. They didn't end up seeing it through, and trying to influence what was going on at each place. And at this point, I see the connections with false teachers, and I'm kind of warning at this point where I'm like, I just don't think this is somebody that is actually going to provide revival. His idea of revivalism is not biblically based.
No.
And This guy it's all about Sean. It's a Sean show. And I tell you what, Justin, I went to, and I found a way, even though I was bringing up some issues that I had with it. I was helping out with some social media strategy with TPUSA Faith at the time, as well as kind of, hosting various different pieces of content, doing some field reporting. And they were sending me.
All right, so you get the picture, right? So this Sean guy was around there. He was already enjoying these things. So right now, he's still with he still does things with Turning Point USA Faith, and they're gonna go on tour with Rob McCoy. Rob McCoy still works for Turning Point USA Faith. So to me, I was just like, okay, so Candace, if you are so serious about the issues that are happening at this organization, where were you all this time? Why now? Where were you all this time? Why now? So let's hear her reasoning in all this, okay? So, by the way, as far as the flight situation, okay? This is what happens to the flight. This is the information that's out here. So, they say this. The Egyptian plane was in Provo for a paint job. Duncan Aviation Provo location is a major hub for aircraft paint refurbishment. I forget the exact model of the Egyptian aircraft, not bothering to recheck, but that issue was settled. So you can understand. So like, yeah, a year later or whatever, this is what happened. This is where a plane do go to go get their paint job. Did we get that information from Mrs. Owens? Huh? Did we get that information from Mrs. Owens? No, we didn't get that information. So right now, she wants us just to be going and dig this information on our own. So just in case, I don't want you to forget, so far, Candace Owens has blamed Israel, Jewish donors, Benjamin Netanyahu, Bill Ackman, President Trump, Josh Hammer, Kash Patel, the FBI, TPUSA, Erika Kirk, Mike McCoy, and the Egyptian Air Force. Okay, that matter, Charlie Kirk. And add in the Ukraine, because Ukraine today has been implicated. Okay, so now we have Ukraine, we have Sean Ford. I'm a zero fan for him. But his name is being mentioned right now. Okay, so also one other thing, guys, I want you guys to know. Yesterday, when we did the report on Lady Candace, okay, this information has been corrected. So we also want to correct the record over here, okay? I'll read this statement to you guys, okay? So correction, pay attention. So this is, I'll pull it up over here so you can see. Okay, the principles of biblical integrity require that we acknowledge when we are wrong. I have deleted a tweet that contained inaccurate information, and I want to correct the record. In that tweet, I stated that Candace Owens earned nearly $130,000 in super chats over the past 30 days. Upon reviewing the data more carefully, I realized the figures were misaligned with the calendar range. I referenced the accurate amount for the past 30 days is $21,562. Okay, so that has been retracted. Okay. So, I did feature that clip. So, Candace made over $21,000 for 30 days in super chats. In super chats only. It was not 130. Okay? As far as the super chat is concerned. So, we've corrected the record. So, apologies for any inconvenience caused. Okay? But we continue with our program. All right. Here we go, guys. Thank you for being here. Here we go.
Let's jump back into our timeline here, okay? So he is announced that he is going to be heading up. Rob McCoy is obviously now the co-chair of TPUSA Faith. He brings on Sean Foyt, presumably. And on February 28th, Sean Foyt it's announced that he's going to be heading up the Kingdom of the Capital Tour. So he becomes the face of this Turning Point USA Faith Tour. So, and of course, the first event that they do, as I just mentioned to you, that plane gets to St. Louis, Missouri, and sure enough, Sean Foyt is there. TPUS Faith is there. They are at the Capitol, and they're doing this event. Okay, so interesting. I went, okay, that's kind of interesting. Let's keep going. Now I'm just going to scroll through this because this is timeline one for myself because it's going to keep building everywhere that Charlie is speaking, everywhere that Charlie is speaking. Let's look at March 24th, 2027. I'll tell you why this is interesting to me. Turning Point USA has their first ever Faith Pastor Summit. I spelled that wrong there. The Faith Pastor Summit, and it's in Nashville, and it's headed by Rob McCoy. And lo and behold, while they're here, there is a trans shooting, a traumatizing trans shooting in which the feds engage in a cover-up regarding, okay? You remember this shooting because it was at a Christian elementary school. It was at a Christian elementary school. It was incredibly traumatizing for all of us that lived here, and then doubly traumatizing, not just because we have kids, but because then we got no answers. They just wanted to hush this. This is just a crazy trans person. Nothing else to see here. Goodbye. Now, what I will say to you is Rob McCoy has got some terrible luck, is what I would say, because he's there when that trans shooting happens. Obviously, he's very close to Charlie Kirk when his shooting happens. He says, I was his pastor. But also, I had received a tip that Rob McCoy, who's from Thousand Oaks, which happens to be a very corrupt place, was very involved in a shooting that happened in 2018. When I say involved, I should rephrase that. I don't mean like he shot anybody. What I mean is that he was the nearby pastor of a Thousand Oaks shooting that happened at some bar where a veteran shot up a bar. Skylar, can you pull this up? Because I don't even remember the details. We received an email and they were like, he was very close with the shooter's mom. The shooter was a veteran. They killed 2 Marine vets among some other, it looks like bystanders at this bar. What bar was it? Something Bar and Grill. I'll look it up in a second if you don't have that quickly. 2018. Give me one second, guys. Just want to make sure that we have the facts of when this happened. 2018 Thousand Oaks shooting. I can't hear you for talking in my ear, but yeah, there was a shooting here at the Borderline Bar. Okay, this is on November 7th, 2018. A former machine gunner in the Marines. Okay, opens fire on patrons at the Borderline Bar and Grill. It kills 11 patrons and then himself. And then when you hear who the victims are, there's some other Marines and some veterans there. So I'm starting to get the feeling, by the way, and I don't know about the rest of you, and these are Candace's musings, that maybe these kind of random shootings that instantly get covered up, but always involve like an Army veteran, aren't actually that random, and maybe the military is involved in them. Like there's a target inside of there. Okay, that's a segue. Going back to Rob McCoy and him having bad luck, this person tells me that he knew the shooter's mother, was his pastor or something, happy to correct that, but then also got close to the victim's family and the victim's family got upset with him. Anyways, just put that in your back pocket. I just thought that I should mention that like he's got some luck, or bad luck rather, okay? March 27th, like I said, is when we have that trans.
So this is, she's very good. She's very good at bringing you some pieces of information that's not relevant to the situation, but because you're hearing all this information, it becomes so much and overwhelming, you start believing it. So at this point, right, Rob McCoy has been thrusted to this situation. Rob McCoy waits for, this is Charlie Kirk's spiritual pastor, whatever the case may be, but Charlie Kirk employed him and he pays him, okay? So if there was any issues, if there was no problem, then he could have fired him. He didn't fire him up until he died. He was still working for him. So we can assume all was well. If something wasn't going on well over there, why does he still has his job? And he's still with Turning Point USA right now, right? So if this guy was associated with people, there was a little bit shooting that happened here, and he is, because she says this is Candace Owens' musings. So she's just putting it out there. You don't have to think about it, but that's on purpose. So let's grant, like, okay, Rob McCoy is a common denominator when all these other places, the shooting has taken place. You know what? That's a very relevant information. Because what are the chances that this one person is associated with 3 shootings at least? So my question is this, right? As far as those 3 shootings are concerned, because they happened prior to Charlie Kirk, was Rob McCoy ever charged with something to do with those shootings? Do we have that information that implicates Rob McCoy with those 3 shootings? If the answer is no, why are you bringing up his name? Why are you bringing up his name? You see what I'm saying? Because if he wasn't charged, if he wasn't implicated, you might not like it. You might say like, okay, that's odd. Then you just have to zip it. Because you bringing that information, now people are going to start looking at him funny. Like, wait a minute. What are the chances that you're in 3 locations that somebody else ended up dead? If he has something to do with it, bring the information. After all, He's out here parading as a minister of the gospel, promoting this new apostolic reformation. So yes, he needs to be brought to, if their charges need to be brought, they need to be brought. If it needs to be facing church discipline, those things need to take place, right? We take this thing seriously. So this is the problem. Like, she's just throwing dots out there. I'll give it to you this, right? I think what has happened right now, there is so much rampant with conspiracy theories, right? This thing is happening because there is a distrust when it comes to the authorities. Because in the past, they've said things that happen not to be true, okay? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And was that 2 weeks? That, we know what happened during that time, right? So many lives were destroyed, young people and all those other things. So now when something happens, people are always like, you know what I mean? Like, the default position is always to question, is always to distrust. I'm aware of that and I absolutely grant that, okay? However, no matter whether you distrust the authorities or you don't, there is a way to ascertain the truth. There is a way for us to be able to use to critical thinking is still around. Logic still exists. How we arrive to truth still does exist. So if everything is conspiracy, then what is truth? So if whatever else she's questioning here, we can also just question everything what Candace Owens is also questioning. So another person can come behind me and question everything else that I'm questioning. And then what? So that's just going to lead us to an infinite regress. That's not how life works. So right now, she's bringing information. We should be able to examine this information. The scripture says as much, right? He who states his case first seems right until another comes and examine it. And you cannot bring accusation, a charge. You need to produce the evidence, independent lines of evidence. You need to have witnesses. So where is the evidence of this, of all this stuff? She is giving us information. I thank you for the information, Candace. But we need evidence to prove that these people had something to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk. If not, that's just information. It's just information. That's it. So, but anyway, guys, let's hear some more from her.
Shooting at Covenant Elementary School in Nashville. And then we go back into our timeline. You can see on April 1st, we have that plane. We're going to call it the yellow plane for the sake of this timeline. The yellow plane flies from Cairo, always via Paris, to St. Louis again, and it lands in Missouri. And guess what? April 2nd, TPUS Faith, co-chaired by Rob McCoy, kicks off their tour with an event headed by Sean Foy in Jefferson City, Missouri, the very next day while this plane is here. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. April 6th, it leaves and always goes through Delaware when it leaves and goes back to Cairo. Okay. Now I am just kind of putting down for you here again, other places where Charlie's here, where he is, because I know that this is going to build into my timeline. I'm looking and Sean Foy is in Israel related to some more faith stuff. I don't know if Turning Point sponsors that trip or not. That's why I put a note there. Charlie at that is speaking in Sacramento on the April 13th. Yellow plane again comes in. This time it flies to Kansas. Cairo to Kansas. And on April 23rd, Sean Foy heads up the TPUSA Faith Kingdom to the Capital Tour event, which happens to be in Topeka, Kansas. So I have a question. How did he get here from Israel? Did he fly into Wichita the day before and then make the very short drive and make his event? I don't know, but I'm putting it in there because once again, we have this plane in here and we've got another TPUSA Faith event that is happening right around the corner. It's about, I think, just under 2 hours to get from Wichita, Kansas to Topeka, where the TPUSA Faith Kingdom of the Capital Tour continues. Okay. April 3rd, BND is in here does a test flight. I think I might have dropped this blue thing. Oh yeah, it's been here the whole time. That's right. This plane stays here a long time. So it's been here from February 21st, and then it's going to head out, and it just leaves on May 9th. Okay. That's going to end 2023. Literally every time this plane is here, I can pin a TPUSA Faith event that's happening, which is like some luck, right? February 9th, we're going now into 2024. I guess actually let's start with January. On January 3rd, 2024, Mikey McCoy is promoted to the Chief of Staff of Turning Point USA. I have the internal email, so that is a fact. He gets the promotion, and now you can see, I guess the McCoys are much more involved in Turning Point USA. I did not know them, so this has to be the year that they got super involved, because I'm going to do my last speech for them in June of 2024. Anyways, he gets promoted to Chief of Staff, and then on February 8th, Charlie's campus tour is publicly announced. I'm doing it with him. On February 9th, our plane comes in. Our Egyptian military plane comes in. This time it is headed to Nebraska, and it lands in Nebraska and then flies straight to Lincoln, Nebraska. It lands in Omaha, and then flies straight over to Lincoln. And it stays in Lincoln for a mysterious 5 days. Now, I'm racking my brains. I couldn't find anything going on with Turning Point, but I was like, I bet there's something going on in Turning Point in Lincoln, Nebraska, because that's a pretty precise location for this plane to go to. And lo and behold, Turning Point USA on February 11th, while this is going on, starts a chapter in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm not kidding. Here's the post. Now, to be clear, because people will go out and say, oh, they already had events at the University of Nebraska. They had a regional chapter, which in Turning Point lingo, like if there's not enough interest in a certain area, they will develop these regional chapters, and people in that area who are interested in Turning Point USA will work to make events happen. They did not have a Lincoln specific Nebraska chapter, according to their own Instagram, as you can see, until February 11th. This is a chapter Instagram. I should be clear. This is the UNL, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. And they're saying it's going to be our first weekly meeting. Here it is. And I think you cut off the bottom. Oh, and it's on the right side. Starting next week, TPUSA at UNL. It is official. Our first weekly meeting. Okay, February 20th, Nebraska City campus. You got it. You got it. I would like to know, if you are a Turning Point USA insider and you are watching this show, who started that chapter. That is very relevant to my research right now. Who started the Lincoln, Nebraska chapter? Because I can't find that. I've looked through. I've tried to see who was the first person. Typically, I think to start a charter chapter, you have to apply. So there's got to be some students, and maybe you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, and you can ask around who said, hey, let's start this chapter in Lincoln, Nebraska, all by ourselves. We're not going to be regional anymore. I need to know who that is, okay? So that happens, and then on February 14th, our plane departs back for Cairo. And this time, BTT departs Cairo, stays in Wilmington for 2 days, and then heads back to Cairo on the 16th. Yeah, okay, so that's February 14th, right? It comes back pretty quickly. On March 29th, BTT, our yellow plane, departs Egypt again, and it comes back to Wichita, Kansas. It lands at 2:19 p.m. in Wichita, Kansas. And guess who was in Kansas that week? I mean, it's just incredible. It is incredible. Charlie Kirk was speaking at the University of Kansas, okay, on April 3rd. So let me know when you get uncomfortable and you realize these are not coincidences, okay? This is a conspiracy. This plane is following Turning Point USA Faith and Charlie Kirk, or Charlie Kirk, by the way, at those TPUSA Faith events. It's possible Charlie was speaking. I just can't find it. It's very difficult to search Charlie Kirk right now and to go back. So I'm going to continue to build this timeline, but you're getting the picture here. Let's keep going. So yes, that plane comes in here. And then I have here on April 9th that Charlie is in Omaha, Nebraska, speaking at the Lord of Hosts Church. So he's doing TPUSA faith stuff in general. And then we get our blue plane comes in. Our blue plane, remember, is the one that whenever it's here, it's going to sit for a little bit. And it sure does sit for a little bit on April 19th. It goes to Provo. It comes in from Cairo, via Paris. It makes a stop in Salt Lake City and then goes on to Provo. That is April 19th. Okay. Lo and behold, BTT is then going to come in from Cairo via Paris through North Dakota to Provo. The planes are together. Again, they're meeting up. They're kind of tracking each other. And who's in the area? Who's in Utah at the same time? Of course, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is doing a Salt Lake University event. Sorry, it's not Salt Lake University. It's the University of Utah at Salt Lake City. I think that's correct. So he is doing an event at Salt Lake at the University of Utah. It's a Prove Me Wrong event. Charlie Kirk is here.
Okay, so to be fair, that's very interesting. Gotta give it to Candace for putting all this timeline together. Okay, but what's happening here in short? So she has brought in this plane, and this plane happens to be at the same state where Charlie Kirk is hosting a Turning Point USA event. And this happens to be a military plane. So yes, that's very interesting. Okay, that's very interesting, Candace. So what does that prove? So were there any planes that were in and out of Nebraska when Turning Point USA was there? Like, was the airspace closed? That was the only plane that flew in and out of Nebraska? So everywhere where this guy goes, right, in this college company, in these states, the entire time while he was there, no any other plane flew to and from. The airspace was closed. I'm confused. So just because Charlie Kirk was there and there was all these other planes that in and out, we need more evidence with that issue. Because who else was there? You know what I'm saying? How do you know that plane was there for Charlie Kirk? What if that plane was there for somebody else and not Charlie Kirk? What if that plane was there for somebody else who works for Turning Point USA and not Charlie Kirk? What if the plane was there for Mike McCoy, who was chief of staff? He goes everywhere where Charlie Kirk goes. You see what I'm saying? So the plane could have been there for for any other reason. And if this is information that does implicate this, Egyptian plane, so you have the tail number of the plane, it's a military plane. So you have this information, they can trace this information, they can actually do something with this information. To my knowledge, no Egyptian people have been arrested or something. I'm not sure. But the trial hasn't happened yet. So if this Egyptian plane had something to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk, then, they need to present this information, okay? They can, find out who who was flying this plane, what day, get flight manifest, you know what I mean? Because those things, the government should be able to access that. So somebody put this information out, okay? And let me read this to you. Okay, I don't know what's happening to the Twitter joint. Okay. And of course, she kept fixating on Nebraska Turning Point, one of the 3 chapters that were behind her forced resignation. And the plans always went through Delaware, where she's being sued, Paris, the Macrons, and Canada to try to link it to Justin Trudeau, even though he's not prime minister anymore, the perpetual victim. So I thought that was quite interesting. I'm like, wow, this is why the Bible teaches forgiveness. Look at Candace Tucker. Sorry, guys. This is why the Bible teaches forgiveness. Look at Candace Tucker. They simply cannot let go of the past of being fired. Now both of them are insane. Okay? So, and then this person put out like, okay, the Egyptian plane that was there for paint job and everything else. But I find this information to be very interesting. Knowing Lady Candace, like, wait a minute. Because she just flew Paris. So it's not by coincidence her mentioning Paris. And it's not a coincidence her just mentioning that Delaware. It's not by coincidence, okay? Because yes, she's sued in Delaware because her businesses are registered in Delaware. And the Macrons are coming for her real hard, okay? So Paris is not by coincidence. So if the plane is in Egypt, like what was the plane doing in Paris? The plane is Egypt. So Egypt is full of Arabs. So the Arabs now, they want to delete Charlie Kirk? Like, what is the connection? What is the connection? I don't know. So unless if she's implying the Mossad flew from Egypt, which is, yeah. So I find this very hard to ascertain. So like, remember, if the Israelis wanted to do this to Charlie was their biggest supporter. So why wouldn't they do that to Tucker? Because Tucker is against them. Candace is against them. They didn't do that to Tucker. They didn't do that to Candace. And if they wanted to do it to Charlie, are you telling me that would have been the best way to do it at that school? These people, they know how to take care of business. Just Google the Mossad, okay? They know how to find you and get rid of you, and you won't even know what happened at the end of the day. So I don't know where this thing is going, but nevertheless, those are the accusations that she's laying. So, I'm like, okay, Candace, this flight information, this airplane information is very interesting. I'll give it to you. However, it still does not prove that anything happened. What if there was nobody in that plane? And she says there were 18 people in that plane. Surely somebody's talking. And you have the Egyptians, Israelis, the donor, TPUSA. So all these other people have to come together in order to execute this plan, and nobody's saying anything to fulfill this conspiracy. Like, I'm like, okay, but here she is. Anyway, what are you guys saying? Okay, I'm rambling over here. What are you guys saying? All right, let's take a look at the comments. Egypt is not a friend of Israel. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so that's the only explanation. Like, okay, the Mossad went to Egypt. And like, why would they care about Charlie Kirk? I don't get it, but that's what she's presenting. Okay. What I say, Chris, the same plane showed up at all his major events around the nation. So, yeah, so I'm even granting that. Okay, if this plane was everywhere where Charlie Kirk was, okay, that's very interesting information. But that does not prove that plane was there for Charlie Kirk. Unless you're telling me that if Charlie Kirk had an event in Nebraska, the only person who went there was Charlie Kirk. He didn't go there with anybody else. So let's say, what if he went there with his family, with Erika Kirk? What if the plane was there for Erika Kirk and no Charlie Kirk? You cannot prove that plane was there for Charlie Kirk. If that's what you're saying, then you need to prove evidence to buttress that. Because somebody else will be like, okay, you know what? That plane was there because of the chief of staff. That plane was there for all because every time he travels with other people. What if that player was there because of whatever, Tyler Boyer? You name it. So that's the point that I'm making, that it can be anybody besides Charlie Kirk. Even if the plane was there for Charlie Kirk, then you need to provide more information. You see what I mean? So let's just say, like, okay, they're at the White House, right? Donald Trump lives in D.C. There's so many planes that come in and out in D.C. So what? Are you going to conclude, oh, no, that plane was in D.C. because of Donald Trump? He's not the only one who lives in D.C. Granted, he's the high profile, but you have Congress still there, senators. You see what I'm saying? So are we saying, what if the plane was there in Nebraska because of the governor? He's a high profile. It can be anything is the point that I'm making. So it's very interesting information. I grant it to her. But if we are to affirm that this plane is following Charlie Kirk, then there needs to be more than that. And why would the plane be following Charlie Kirk anyway to begin with? It does that make sense? Does that jive? So, it's what I'm saying. But if this plane had something to do with it, there were 18 people. So who are these 18 people? Because we know the plane didn't do anything, right? There were people inside the plane. It was transporting the people. So the most important people are the occupants of this plane. Who are they? So that's the information that she absolutely needs to produce. But be that as it may, let's continue.
Of course. And then we have that BTT, that's our yellow plane, departs on April 28th. Charlie's event is over, so we can move on. Also have here that Charlie spoke in North Dakota, so he's in the area. And then on July 17th, our blue plane is going to leave, right? It always lags behind our yellow plane. Now let's get into 2025. This is the year Charlie gets assassinated, right? I don't know what this plane is doing. I don't know who's on the plane. I do know that if Tulsi Gabbard or Joe Kent is potentially watching this, or if they are, as they have stated, or as the public figured out, being blocked from Kash Patel, you should be able to look into these flights and see who is on these manifests, and it is going to be extremely relevant. I'm telling you, it is going to be extremely relevant. And my best guess is that they are going to try to hide that or lie about it. And I'm wondering if these planes potentially maybe had some Americans on them, because that would be incredibly relevant. Anyways, let's get into 2025 here. We're going to start with just the planes don't come in at all in the beginning. This is me just putting down Charlie's schedule. May 23rd is the first time one of the planes come in, and that is the blue plane. The blue plane sits and it stays for a while. And I'm going to say that to us, when we looked at this, it appeared to be a legitimate maintenance stop, like that they came in because there was just some test flying that was happening around that time. I don't know for certain. Obviously, we're building upon this timeline, but the blue plane, our lag plane, gets into Provo on May 23rd, okay? We're going to keep with this timeline. You can see in June of 2025, by the way, is when the article broke. Sean Feucht is credibly accused of having been involved in fraud and embezzlement. There are multiple organizations that are binding together to say that he's immoral, he is unethical, that he has shady financial activities, he's misrepresented his ministry activities, ceaseless financial solicitation they accuse him of, intermingled with grand visions, which has led to untold financial gain and a steady stream of unpaid labor from volunteers. Starting to sound a little bit familiar here. And they make statements that he was purportedly using, I'm going to say this is allegedly, I'm reading this from the article, using business credit cards for personal expenses. He diverted donations to personal accounts. He inflated the prices that were paid to vendors. He's using ministry funds to rent his own cabin in Montana for the ministry board meeting. I mean, there's all of these allegations that are coming from him. And by the way, even people who formerly worked at Turning Point USA say the same thing, that there's something not right about Sean Feucht. Now, despite all of this, and this breaks down the very many properties that they say are owned by him, very expensive properties, by the way. There's always going to be a real estate There's almost going to be like a real estate theme and what we're going to discuss later. They're breaking down like this guy owns a ton of properties. He's moving a lot of properties. That's interesting to me. When the money is looking funny and you see that people own a lot of properties, you should be interested. Okay. I'm not making any allegations against him, but I'm going to make some broader allegations that when I started.
Oh, you don't have to worry about Lady Candace as far as this, what's his name? Sean Voight is concerned, right? So this guy, questionable character to begin with, disqualified guy, but he has this platform. So he makes his money. He's done things with Turning Point USA Faith for sure, but he's a charlatan. He's a false teacher. He shakes people for money. He does this concert, his revival. He was with Bethel, Mike Bickle, all these other people. So that's how he makes his money. The question is, why did Turning Point Faith hired him to begin with? And it's not like they were not warned, they were warned, but they still kept him. Why? And why is he still doing this so-called ministry thing with Turning Point USA Faith? So this is the problem, the big tent that Turning Point Faith has. You know what I mean? You create the monster, you feed the monster. Because you have all these people, this ecumenicalism associated with these false teachers and everything, and this is what happens, okay? So, no, Sean, this guy is just like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? He's still chilling with Turning Point USA Faith, and you guys are out here thinking you cannot have revival with false teachers, guys. That's not how revival works. But this is what, so take a look at this, this guy.
Honey, let me tell you about Sean Foy. He's from Redding, California.
Welcome to the 700 Club.
I think I was leading worship when that happened.
You were leading worship. You can claim that. That's good.
Spiritual manipulation.
My hero, my friend, the legend, Mike Bickle. We're here at the House of Prayer.
Please give a big welcome to Sean Foy.
One particular moment remains seared in my memory. After a Sunday service in Salt Lake City where Sean had been invited to lead worship, he was dissatisfied with the offering he received. He confronted the pastor, demanded more, and left in outrage after learning there wasn't any more. That pastor vowed never to invite him back. Sean considered it persecution. We saw it for what it was, arrogance.
Sean Foy joins us now. Hey, Sean, so good to see you again.
Hey. I have the great honor and privilege of being with a great friend and hero, Mike Bickle.
He has surrounded himself with enablers and silenced dissenters. He mocks journalists, vilifies critics, and frames all opposition as persecution. This is not the behavior of a humble servant of Christ. This is the behavior of a man building his kingdom.
He founded the Let Us Worship movement, a series of outdoor concerts during summer 2020. Now he's launching a new tour, kicking off in Miami on New Year's Eve. Musician and pastor Sean Foyt joins me now.
Sean Foyt is a mediocre musician who markets his concerts as revivals. Instead of simply selling tickets to his concerts, he appeals for seed donations in order to open the windows of heaven. There is little difference between Sean Foyt and Benny Hinn.
Thank you, Sean, for what God is doing through you. Lord, I pray for Sean that he will be blessed beyond words. He will bless his ministry in this country.
There are new apostolic Reformation grifters like Todd White, Sean Boltz, and Sean Foyt, and there are Word of Faith grifters like Kenneth Copeland, Benny Hinn, and Jesse Duplantis. They are all highly skilled manipulators who twist the Bible in order to gain power and wealth for themselves. Sean Foyt started putting on public concerts during COVID in 2020 and made himself the leader of a so-called radical worship movement. And as you can see in this chart from the really helpful Ministry Watch website, he was making a few $100,000 a year with his concerts and events. And then his revenue jumped to a staggering $5.3 million when he started doing these special COVID outdoor worship events. Ministry Watch now gives them an F rating and suggests that nobody should ever give them any money because of a complete lack of transparency in how much money they make and what they do with that money. Along with the
Yeah. So, but this guy is still doing events with TPUSA Faith and is still getting what? A paycheck. And in fact, when he was doing some of these events, they would take care of everything, hotel, flights, and the check, and he would still go there and shake people some money. So yeah, we're not surprised by it. The question is, what is he doing there to begin with? And he's out there doing functions, whatever, with Rob McCoy. So yeah. So now, all those things we do know that these people, they say people should donate, sowing the seeds, all these other things, right? Yeah. He's a false teacher, the whole 9 yards. So the question is, all those things are true about this guy. There's so much about it, right? So does that prove that he had something to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk? If he did have that, we absolutely need more evidence than that. We are not surprised that he's implicated with the finances. That story was already there when Charlie Kirk was alive and well. Okay, when Charlie Kirk was alive. In fact, he's still continuing. He has all this big platform and everything. So, does that mean he has something? No, he was already doing these things. I mean, if Benny Hinn is endorsing you, what are you doing at Turning Point USA Faith? So yeah, so that she needs to dig more than that. Oh, Florrie, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Greetings, sister. Wonderful. Greetings. What are you saying at Phantom? Egypt sees Israel like the US saw Russia during the court. Yeah, like these people are not friends. They're frenemies, okay? They just live together, US pays Egypt, so they shouldn't be at war with the Israelis. So I don't know why she's bringing that up. It didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, this, clear she's not familiar with this New Apostolic Reformation or these other people, because to be like, okay, this is what these people do. So this guy already makes money with or without Turning Point USA Faith, because he does other things, right? He was associated music with Bethel, all these other things. So yeah, he was already making money, and he's still making money. The question still remains: why was he doing a Turning Point in the first place to begin with, and why is he still there? Besides his false teaching, all these money issues, and all these other things. So to me, this ecumenicalism they're building over there, this is what's going to create. So right now, I mean, the fact of the matter is there's a lot of people who are going to take advantage of Turning Point USA Faith. It's open season, okay? Charlie Kirk is gone. Right now, it's open season. It's like people are vying to see who is going to fill Charlie Kirk's position. So that's what's going on. So others might be doing it outright. Others are underground. But I was just like, okay, I'm not surprised the history about this guy. But what I'm asking for her is just like, what is the connection that you're bringing that this guy had something to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk? As far as him making money, all those things, dude was already doing that prior, and he's still doing it after. Okay? So let's watch some more.
Started piercing this layer of the Mormon church. I was like, is this a church or is this a real estate empire? Never seen so many real estate transactions in my life. People that were paying cash more than what the property was worth. And I'm going, when I see this much real estate being purchased in cash, I know a thing or two about money laundering. It's a good business to be in, is all I'm saying, right? It's a good business to be in. And I got to be honest, these mega churches are looking a little funny, okay? They're looking a little funny. What was it, Joel Osteen? Like, the plumber was fixing a toilet and found like $1 million in the hole. Do you remember the story? Mega church pastor Joel Osteen, his church. I think it was, I got to pull it up if you can find it, Skylar. The plumber's like, hey, I'm here to fix the toilet, and finds that actually there's like almost $1 million of cash in one of the walls. And I think Joel Osteen issued a statement and was like, we are very surprised to see this. It's very strange. This is in the walls of our church. That's amazing. God has blessed us greatly for supporting Israel. I'm joking. He didn't say that. But I think the excuse that he gave, here it is, the plumber doing repairs November 10th at the mega church, blah, blah, blah. There was a loose toilet in the wall. We removed the tile and boom, 500 envelopes fell out of the wall. And I was like, oh, wow. And then the plumber contacted maintenance. And Joel Osteen's excuse was like, we had some money that was missing at the church. Here it is. I don't know. These pastors like tickle me now. It's like, I don't know. That's so crazy. That is so crazy. There you are. There you are, $1 million. I did not see you there. Happens all the time. Rich people problems, rich people problems. Just so much money. You got to put it behind a toilet. And he said that's what they thought maybe it was. To me, when I hear cash flowing like that, my mind goes to, and we're talking like a lot of these mega churches are always in California or Arizona. And I'm not saying this about Joel Osteen. I'm talking about the broader implications of cash being found in any place. I'm thinking the cartels, right? Like that's where my mind's at. I'm thinking cartel money is flowing through the border and could end up in a closet somewhere. Again, I'm not correlating that to Joel Osteen, but I do think the fact that money was found there is weird, and his excuse makes no sense. I will say that.
Clearly, she's not familiar with what's happening with these, the mega churches and everything. Okay, guys, these people, they steal money from their congregation. Okay, their congregation give this money because they want to be rich one day. It's a prosperity preaching, name it and claiming it. Word of faith, you know what I mean? Like God wants you to be rich. So I don't think she's familiar with those things. No. Joe has money. He doesn't even need to quote unquote hide cash at the bathroom at his church. He doesn't have to do that. He's got plenty. Okay? I mean, Kenneth Copeland, what, 3 planes? Does he need to hide money, cash anywhere? He doesn't have to. He has plenty. Because this is their ministry. These mega churches, this is what they do. So I don't think she's familiar about that. No, it's nothing to do with the cartels. They don't need the cartels. Money comes to them. You know what I mean? They're writing books. They're doing events. People are sowing in seed. People are tithing. So they keep all the money. And plus they have 501c. So the money stays in-house. So I don't think she's familiar with the word of faith and everything. But somehow they're going to be implicated with this issue. Oh, man. Candace.
Now, jumping back into our timeline, where was I just now? We are, this is when things start to get a little spicy for Charlie Kirk, okay? So that's Sean Feucht, that's June 2025, money's looking funny, according to multiple people and organizations that have worked with him. Mark has made a note. No, that's incorrect, Mark. I checked this 3 times. You're thinking about, you're saying that, sorry. Yeah, that's where we were just at now. Oh, okay. I will bump that. Okay. Mark is saying that the Lincoln chapter was opened. I had that in the wrong date. That was supposed to be in May of 2025. Okay, we'll get back to that. Let me just get through this. Okay. So we have Tucker Carlson then speaks in July 11th of 2025. This is a very big deal. Okay. Very big deal. Tucker Carlson gets on stage at Turning Point USA and there is a donor panic, an absolute panic. He gives a speech. He calls out Jeffrey Epstein, right? There, he's calling out Jeffrey Epstein. Dave Smith is speaking. They're talking about Israel being a problem. He's getting cheers from the crowd, right? This audience being like, yeah, no, why are we married to this like nation in the Middle East that happens to be committing a genocide? But he also says things like, people that serve in foreign armies should probably have their citizenship stripped, something along those lines. And he also muses about where Bill Ackman's wealth comes from. And yeah, it's just a speech, which, by the way, Charlie was the one who told him backstage, go hard at Israel, right? He's done. Charlie's done. He just is. That's just the reality, which is why it was crazy when people were trying to lie about this. I was like, this lie will not stand. And he's telling Tucker Carlson to go hard in the paint. Now, I know for a fact that when Tucker came off stage, one donor immediately, a woman who I have not named yet, instantly started yelling at Charlie. Charlie then gets the full donor squeeze. You are not allowed to be anti-Israel. This feels like a good time to mention that the last time that I spoke at Turning Point USA's conference in 2024, there was this random sidebar conversation that I had with Tyler Boyer. Tyler Boyer is the king of shady at Turning Point USA. He is the one, like I said, that he has hired every person around Charlie. Joke's on you if you think Turning Point USA is a Christian organization. It's a Mormon one, okay? And Tyler Boyer said to me backstage, there was something going on with like Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes. I can't recall. This is, again, 2024. And I said to him, why don't you just have Charlie debate Nick? Like the common sense thing to me is just like have the debate, right? It's not a big, it's like all of this. I think Nick had maybe come actually to the conference with like some people because he was doing that for a little bit. And I was like, why don't you just like debate him? Like, I don't know, I'm like pro conversation. And Tyler said to me, Turning Point USA will just always be pro-Israel. Like we're just never not going to be pro-Israel. Didn't think anything of it at the time, but in retrospect, it's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, what do you mean it will never be anti-Israel? What do you mean it will always be pro-Israel? That's just what we are. We're pro-Israel. What do you mean that's just what we are? You're supposed to be an organization that's dedicated to free speech. And what comes with free speech is the ability to think freely, the ability to process the information that is being spoken to you and to think freely. You care about free markets, which I think actually relies upon free speech to have free markets.
Yeah, this sounds good, but Charlie Kirk is on record, people asking him directly, why doesn't he debate Nick Fuentes? And Charlie Kirk said he wouldn't debate Nick Fuentes because of Nick Fuentes' ideology and all the stuff that he espouses. So, and he's been saying that long before he died. So where was Candace Owens? Where was her critique about Charlie Kirk? Because Charlie Kirk said no. And there was that text message, we already featured it. He was not displeased with D'Souza, who had debated Nick Fuentes, and Charlie said it like, no, Nick Fuentes is vermin. Why would you even give him a platform? So now we know Tucker Carlson had a platform, Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson did not push back on Nick Fuentes. And Tucker had Ted Cruz. He pressed hard on Ted Cruz. Tucker Carlson pressed hard on everybody else. But Nick Fuentes is there telling him that, oh, my favorite is Stalin. You know what I mean? His birthday, this, that, and the third. And Tucker said we'll circle back, and he never circled back. So what are we saying out here? I know, like, come on, but let's hear.
I don't even think the markets are free right now. And so I'm just trying to understand this concept that Turning Point is just never going to not be pro-Israel, actually, in the retrospect. And so if we fast forward a year later, Sarah Carlson's on the stage and his hype man is Charlie Kirk, and he's like, just hit him hard. And he goes out there and he hits them harder than anything. And suddenly there's an explosion, right? And they're really angry. They are very angry. Josh Hammer is angry. Seth Dillon is angry. Far be it from them to ever tell the truth about that. These people were going to lie. Oh, he never blinked, and we were just his greatest supporters. Bob Shillman is angry, and they're basically saying, Charlie, this can never happen again, and you have to be pro-Israel. That's kind of the vibes that they're putting down, okay? That happens July 11th, and now our plane is coming back from Egypt. Just 9 days later, it goes through Omaha, Nebraska. At 11:37 a.m., it departs and it heads over to Lincoln, Nebraska, and it stays there for 6 days. I would love to know, and again, anybody who has the ability to pull the files, maybe you just work at the airport, I really would like to know who was on that plane. I think this July 20th date is very important. Very important, okay? I think the post-TPUSA conference dates are critical to what happened here, okay? Then Charlie speaks in New York, and after that, he heads up to New York in the Hamptons, and Charlie Kirk himself described it as an intervention. Seth Dillon is lying through his teeth. Okay, people that were there said Seth Dillon was rowdy and pushing Charlie on his views on Israel. Charlie himself described it as an intervention that was staged over his viewpoints on Israel. Okay, and maybe they were going to see if they could fix him. You know how every episode of Intervention ends. They ask you if you want to go to rehab because they love you. Okay, they read the.
So at this point, she absolutely needs to produce the evidence that it was an intervention, because this was debunked by people who did attend the event. So if the other people who were there believe that it was an intervention, then we need them to speak, or Candace needs to produce evidence to support that. Because she said this was an intervention. We already did a video about this. Bill Ackman made the text public. It's a public record. Charlie Kirk is the one who initiated the conversation with Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman hosted the event for the food and the hotel and the accommodation. Charlie Kirk, it was his event, so to speak. And the last message was Charlie Kirk sending to Bill Ackman, next time we should take our ladies for dinner. Like, he'll bring his wife, and with Bill Ackman's wife, they can go out together. So if this Bill Ackman was bringing an intervention to Charlie Kirk and everything, why did Charlie Kirk initiate this conversation? Why did he initiate this whatever? It was his idea that he gathered these influencers so they can strategize how they're going to be talking about Israel and everything. And this is what I keep saying. If Charlie Kirk had left the pro-Israel whatever, he didn't leave to leave it out. Because when he died, everything that's there, publicly available, he's pro-Israel. And that's just a fact. Was he going to leave Israel? Probably. But he's not here for us to see. You see what I'm saying? And this is also, maybe she might not know this. So remember, this, these evangelicals, right? This, as far as their faith is concerned, okay? The Paula White, John Haig, and Charlie Kirk was also like that, right? Like Israel, theologically to them, they cannot just let go as far as Israel is concerned, okay? So that's why most of these people are like that when it comes to Israel. It's something to do with their faith. You don't have to agree with that premise, but I'm just giving it to you guys. That's why there's that thing. For somebody like Candace, she cannot see it, she cannot get it, she doesn't understand it. You know what I mean? So for people telling them like, okay, you need to abandon Israel, it's like you are telling them they need to abandon their faith. They are not going to do it. That's why they will always be what? Pro-Israel, for better, for worse. Not that it's a good thing, but that's the reality. What's being played out in a public square. So case in point, you can see what happened with Ted Cruz's interview, right? So let's continue.
Letters, Charlie, I remember you. You were so brave. You were so brave, and you loved Israel, and you understood that your job is to be a good little goy and do what we say. I miss you. You want to go to rehab, but that phone call wasn't coming in from mom or dad. It was coming in from Bibi Netanyahu. And that's kind of terrifying, actually. Bibi Netanyahu is like pretending to be your friend. Hey, come to Israel. And how do we know that happened? Because Bibi told us himself. So this is not in dispute, right? Bibi raced out of the gate to establish Charlie Kirk as like Israel's top goy. And he said probably too much. He said he called him 2 weeks ago and he invited him to Israel. And the part that he left out was Charlie declined. So when he got the phone call to go to figurative rehab, Charlie said, no, I'm good, actually. Bibi offered to fund Turning Point to the next level, okay? Andrew Colvett should be able to confirm that, yes or no. Don't dance around it. I don't like the dancing. Him and Alex said, oh, this, blah, blah. It's a yes, okay? Take it to the next level. With what money, though, actually? It is relevant.
Well, yeah, Andrew Colvett. Okay, Candace is putting you on blast once again. So, does Candace Owens have a text message to prove that this is what happened with Bibi? Because she came out, okay, say like, oh, Bibi, you're lying. You need to put out the letter. They made the letter public. And what was in the letter? And people call it the love letter from Charlie Kirk to Israel. Did he criticize Israel in the letter? Yes, he did. But he criticized them, but he offered the solution and offered his and put himself like, I'll be happy to help you to do all these other things. That was Charlie writing a letter to Bibi, and that letter was made public. Did Candace Owens walk that back? No, she didn't. So she dared them to make the letter public, and the letter was made public. So right now, if she's telling us, oh, Bibi, there was a phone call, whatever, 2 million, yes or no, Andrew Colvett knows something about it. So just like how you produced the text message, Candace Owens, that proved it to be true, and Andrew Colvett backed you up on that one, that yes, it was actually true. Are you also going to do the same thing with this situation? Or it's just the same thing that you've been doing? Which is it? Which is it? So yeah, I don't feel so for Andrew Colvett, because to me, if that was a private information, how did that text message find itself in Candace Owens? According to his own words, he shared with some government officials and some other people. So that's what happens, okay? Yeah, so Candace is...
And it is true that Charlie did not know where the money was coming from. That's why he established Doge, okay? He did not know where the money was coming from or where it was going to. That sounds to me like...
What does that mean? The Turning Point is donor funded. So the money is coming from the donors. He didn't know who the donors were? It's possible, but you're just receiving money. You don't know where the money is coming from. And why are these people giving money? Because every time when people give money, they want something in return, okay? The people are just not going to give you money. So let's hear.
A very sophisticated money laundering operation could have been happening under his nose. Now, I'm not a forensic accountant. I am saying this so that those of you who are forensic accountants can go do what you do and figure out, for Charlie, establish the internet Doge, okay? Where was the money coming from and where was it going to? And then my Turning Point insiders tell me the money was indeed looking funny, okay? It was just a lot of money coming in really fast and going out really fast. And I can tell you what it sounds like. We don't have any facts on that. We only have just a sense of Charlie's emotion at the time. He says, no, Bibi, I don't know.
So she doesn't have the facts. She just have the sense. And we should take this to the bank. So this is the problem with her. You know what I'm saying? So like you, and believe you me, if the money was funny, that is not so hard to find. Okay? If they do the forensic audit and everything, they'll be able to find it. Even if Charlie's gone, the numbers don't lie. So the question is, when did she learn that the money was funny at Turning Point USA? When did she come to that information? So if she knew that the money was funny at Turning Point USA, is there a text message from Candace to Charlie warning Charlie that something is not up and up as far as money is concerned? Do we know anything about that? Because to my knowledge, they've raised even more money than they've ever raised since Charlie died. So if the money was funny, where was money coming from? Where is money going? That information, they can find that out. Okay? They can absolutely find that out. So, Erika Kirk, she's in charge. Candace Owens wants to know what's happening with the money. Where's the money coming from? Where's the money going? Now that she's in charge, Candace Owens is demanding internal and external audits. And please report the results to Mrs. Farmer. All right, let's continue.
Maybe where this money's coming from. I'm good. I'm not going to go to rehab in Israel. And I'm not going to take your money. Charlie says no. Okay. And what happens next after the Hamptons retreat is that and I think this is a BTT. I didn't put this on August 17th. I missed this. BTT comes in. Is that BTT? Stays for 6 days. Yeah, because it went back to Cairo. BTT, that's our yellow plane, comes into Nebraska and again does that trip into Lincoln immediately. And again, I think these trips are very important. Okay. Turning Point USA insiders. I know some of you guys are becoming more and more courageous. What was going on in Nebraska? What's going on at the Lincoln chapter? How did the Lincoln chapter come together? I think you were making a note that was supposed to be in 2025. The Lincoln chapter came together. Is that what you were saying, Mark? Okay. So I'll edit that in our updated timeline so that you guys are watching this can update that in your timeline. What is going on in Lincoln, Nebraska? I feel like something very relevant is happening here. Then we have, of course, the final time that that plane comes in. And that before Charlie's assassination, rather, it comes in on September 4th. It heads to Minot, North Dakota, and then it heads directly there to Provo, and it lands in Provo on September 4th at 12:46. And it was a full plane. Okay, that's what we can say. It was a full plane, according to a person overseas who had intimate knowledge, and I think the information is solid. And it was not a full plane when it departs the morning that Charlie is assassinated. So, working with that, what's going on here? What's going on here? We then know that 3 days later, bringing that back up on September 13th, our blue plane, which it trails, is going to leave through Canada, as it always does. It's going to leave Provo. It's going to go through Canada, through Paris, and back home to Cairo 3 days following Charlie Kirk's assassination. Did that plane perhaps have the rest of the people that were left behind? What is going on? I want to know. One more thing that I want to mention to you. And Skylar, I actually didn't tell you. I want to make sure that you pull up just what I want you. Okay, under the notes from me, Charlie, because this is stuff that we're working on. I mean, Charlie, goodness. The notes from me, Skylar, it says 2 jets that landed from Arizona into Provo, because we started tracking those jets, because I think the planes are going to tell us a story. If you could just copy that, and from there up into the 9/11.
So, guys, in case I don't want you to miss the fact, so far, this is where she is taking us, okay? This is it, right here, right? Cannot Sleep discovered something in this Charlie Kirk mystery that is incomprehensibly dark. They all betrayed him. They all betrayed him. May need to kick the Norm Ferguson interview until Monday and go live tomorrow, Ari. So, this is what we've been watching. They all betrayed him. Candace could not even sleep because it was so pressing for her to bring this information out. So this is what we've been watching. This is the information that was so much so important. And according to her, they all betrayed him. So far, what we have is the plane. We have plane information, flight information, the tail number of the plane. The blue plane and the yellow plane came from Cairo, Egypt. It was in Nebraska. It was everywhere where Charlie Kirk was. That's what she has presented to us. So this information, she was not able to sleep because they all betrayed him. So the question is, who is they? Who is they? Because she has admitted she doesn't know who was in the plane. She wants to get the names to find out who was in the plane. She knows there were 18 people in the plane. So these 18 people in the plane, is she referring to the 18 people in the plane as the ones who betrayed him? Who is they? Because this is what she could not sleep. All right, fine, Candace. It's the plane, all these other things, yes. So, are you saying the plane is what betrayed Charlie Kirk? Are you saying the plane is the plane that pulled the trigger? Like, what's happening here? So, is the plane to blame or the people in the plane? And who are the people in the plane? They all betrayed him. Who is they? Can we, at least at the bare minimum, she needs to name names as they representing who? They, them? These pronouns, people with pronouns? Or they meaning these people? I mean, that's what she said, right? They all betrayed him. So who is all? The entire TPUSA? The entire Trump administration? The entire FBI? The entire government of Israel? The entire Egypt? Now Ukraine? Paris? Wait, who is they? We would like to know. Because these people, they need to go on trial. These people, they need to be charged. They need to be brought to justice. So let's see if she's going to name the they at this point. So far, nothing. Unless if I'm missing something. You guys let me know.
Yeah, that'd be great so that they can see that. We started then looking at the planes that day, and something that struck us as actually, Charlie, Charlie, goodness, Skylar, if you could just delete the name of the agent is the only thing I would delete because it's not relevant for them. I mean, it's obviously public information, but I don't want this person to get inundated. Anyway, so there were 2 planes that we could find that right after Charlie gets shot, scrambled, and from Scottsdale, Arizona, we're trying to figure out who came in. And something that caught us, something that we think is interesting, is that the tail number 940JD, right, had a day where they went up from Scottsdale in the morning. And I think it was, if you want to bring that up, Mark, at 7 o'clock in the morning they left. You want to pull it up? That's N40JD. I want to say it leaves at 7 o'clock in the morning. Oh, no, that's the other tail number. Just kidding. The G5 plane. Okay, switch that. This is why he needs to bring this in. Tail number N102DZ. We'll have it up in a second. N102DZ we're interested in because at 7:12 a.m. in the morning in Scottsdale, so that's local time in Scottsdale, it flies from Scottsdale to Salt Lake City. So instantly I was like, oh, this could be Charlie's plane. But then why would Charlie fly into Salt Lake City? No, he would fly into Provo, obviously, because Salt Lake City is 60 miles away. You don't fly private so that you can then take a 60-mile car, unless there's some reason that you would have to, like the airport was closed. And I don't think that's true. Maybe it is. You guys can let me know. But this plane flew from Scottsdale and then landed in Salt Lake City at 9:23 a.m. local time. And then Charlie gets shot at 12:23, and this plane scrambles. And it leaves Salt Lake City, and it heads to Scottsdale at 1 o'clock p.m., so that's pretty quick, but coming from Salt Lake City doesn't make sense to me. So I'm thinking this had on somebody, but why did they go to Salt Lake City? That's what I'm trying to figure out, okay? And so that G5 plane then gets back to Scottsdale at 1 p.m. local time, right? Because they're going to gain time going backwards. And then they are only on the ground for 15 minutes. They turn around and they go right back to Scottsdale. It's possible this plane picked up Erika. It's possible this plane picked up. There's a lot of people that were coming in. I think there's I don't know Mikey McCoy's wife's name. I think she said she was there. Mikey McCoy was there. I don't know who was on this plane. But I'm wondering about that first trip, not even the second trip. It makes sense that you would obviously go pick up people. We know people were racing there. Everyone has told the story 1,000 times. But why was this plane in Salt Lake City in the first place? That's what I'm interested in, I guess, if that makes sense to you guys. And that is what we have been working on. All right, we are going to take a break here quickly, and then we'll be right back. All right, you guys, I'm going to...
Okay, so my thing is, because she did say that the plane, right, was everywhere where Charlie Kirk was. What if the plane was there everywhere where Charlie Kirk was? What if that was the plane that Charlie Kirk was using to go to those places? Has she ruled that out? Is that even a possibility? Oh, yes, the plane was there because this is the plane that Charlie Kirk was using. That's why it was there, because Charlie Kirk was there. He's the one who was using that plane. Has she ruled that out? I don't know if she has ruled that out. But nevertheless, the same thing still stands, because she could not sleep. She had to bring us this information. And they all betrayed him. Okay, because we already know she knows this information, because Charlie appeared to her in the dream, tell her that he was betrayed. Okay, so who is they, Candace? So far, she has given us information about the plane. So, all right, at this point, the only thing we have going on is this plane was in the same city where Charlie Kirk was hosting Turning Point USA events. So because it's the public information, I'm sure the authorities are listening. If I'm a lawyer, they need to follow this up, okay? And to find out, they can chase this to find out, because the idea is to find out who was in the plane, who was inside the plane. But even if you were to find out, okay, it was these people in the plane, you still have to connect those people to Charlie Kirk's situation. You know what I mean? For so far, we only have the plane. There's no way you can tell me that was the only plane that was there that day when Charlie Kirk was there. But, what are you guys saying? I don't know. Are you confused or what's going on. Okay. Oh, she's lying. If he didn't know, then why did he say $2 million pulled out? Hey, Sorella, at this point, it's just like, we're just going to follow through. Maybe we'll find something at some point. Okay? Because, no, of course it's not her business. But she has made it her business because she says she's the only one who is fighting for Charlie Kirk. She's the only one who is best friend to Charlie Kirk. Because nobody else is doing nothing about it. They've moved on. They stopped grieving. They're not grieving properly. So this is a responsibility. Charlie Kirk appeared to her in the dream. So she's the only one who can do this. So that's why she's out here. So far, it's the plan. Okay? They all betrayed him. To me, so the plan betrayed Charlie Kirk. The 18 people in the plan, we don't know who the 18 people are. She doesn't know either. All right, but I'm telling you, man. Oh, man, this is exhausting. This is exhausting, guys. This is Candace. You know what I mean? Things that were debunked before, now she just brought back the story about, what's that story? The story, Bill Ackman. Then later about, I'm like, no, Candace, this was disproven. Why are you bringing this stuff back again? You know, so I don't know what she's doing right now. Okay, so let's hear her here. All right, here we go, guys.
That is compelling to me, and something that came, and again, this is opinion. I didn't cover it because it's opinion, but a lot of people felt at Turning Point USA, and I do mean a lot of people, as in the wonderful people that work for the organization that are not at the top, right? And they felt that Mikey McCoy was kind of being positioned to take over for Charlie Kirk. And I never again covered it because, you know, feelings are not facts. But given the picture that we now have of his father, and
why are you bringing that information then to your audience? Feelings are not facts. This is just your opinion. Why are you bringing that information? Because you are on the you are investigating. I thought this is what happened. Even like whenever the people are doing investigation, the police, if something is irrelevant, it's hearsay, they don't even entertain it because they know they cannot bring that up. You know what I mean? That's not going to be used in court. That's not relevant. So if Charlie Kirk wanted to elevate Mike McCoy, so what? So what? You know what I mean? Like, people get promoted all the time. You might not like it, but if that's what Charlie wanted to do, who is Candace to say otherwise? Who said, I'm telling you, if I was Erika Kirk, I'll be announcing like tomorrow, like, okay, Mike McCoy is this, you know what I mean? Just to send a jab to Candace. Okay, here we go.
And what his father is involved in, and the fact that Charlie was kind of veering from what I think was a predetermined course for Turning Point USA, I have a lot of questions. Also, another person who wrote us was telling me the story about Tyler Boyer's involvement in like Maricopa County politics in general. Like, what did he do before in Arizona? And yeah, it's just the kind of stories. Again, he said he approached him several times about embezzlement. You know, Tyler was hooking up with young interns.
Tyler Boyer was there at Turning Point where Candace was there. Okay? So the question is, if she had issues with this Tyler Boyer character, why didn't she say anything when she was at Prager, at Daily Wire? Why didn't she say anything prior to Charlie Kirk? Why now? So all of a sudden, she's so concerned about Tyler Boyer. Oh man, this lady.
Young male interns or young male workers, and he didn't even care. He's like, I would go on record because all of this happened, and I had the proof that all of this happened, and everybody knows about Tyler Boyer at Turning Point USA. It's like an absurdity. But this is the person that is putting people into places of power at Turning Point USA. Like, he's just involved. And something that was interesting is also how many Russian speakers there are.
Where these people be put in places, in different places at Turning Point USA, they were just put in places, position of power after Charlie Kirk died. Or these people were put in places of power when Charlie Kirk was there. Which is it? Because if these people were put in place while Charlie Kirk was there, the fact that he was in charge, then the buck stops with him. So that tells me he approved of it. Because if he didn't approve of it, these people wouldn't have been in charge. Okay? So if these people were put in place, it means Charlie Kirk approved of it. Because if he didn't approve of it, they would have been let go. They would have been fired. Because Candace Owens used to work for Turning Point. They had to let her go. They had to let her go. You see what I'm saying? So that also happened. So clearly, they are capable of letting people go. John Root was also at Turning Point. They had to let him go. He was out there voicing things. They had to let him go. So they've proven that they do let people go. Case in point, Candace Owens. So all of a sudden, Candace Owens is so concerned about the people who are being put around Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk didn't know the people who were put around him. And if he didn't like the people who were put around him, how come Charlie Kirk did not fire those people? Why didn't he fire them if he didn't like them? Huh? I'm like, what is this, Candace? Okay? Like, no. And the issue bringing up about this Tyler Boyer, whatever, the gay, all these other things, whatever, I don't know about it. But it's not long ago, Charlie Kirk did support the rainbow marriage. He just changed recently as far as his views are concerned. It's not a secret. A whole bunch of people work for Turning Point, Catholics and Mormons. And Charlie spoke glowingly with Mormons. There's nothing wrong doing that. But he actually said he commended them that they do missionary work around the globe. Why would you be commending the Mormons that they do missionary around the globe? They preach different Jesus. Yes, they do go around the globe for sure. But are they promoting the Christ of the scriptures? No, they don't. So why would you commend them for that? Hello? So I'm like, come on, Candace, you know? Like, no, you're just talking about things that don't make any sense over here. And if this Tyler Boyer was so busy with the whatever boys, everybody at Turning Point USA knew about it. Did Charlie know about it? So everybody at Turning Point knew, right? That includes Charlie Kirk. That includes Erika Kirk. How come they didn't fire Tyler Boyer if they were not happy about it? So Candace said that she knew about it. Why didn't she do something about it when she was there? Why didn't she do something about it after she left, when she was at Prager, when she was at Daily Wire, while Charlie Kirk was still alive? Why does she want to do something about it now? This woman is jealous. She's jealous because those are the people who are going to stand benefit of Turning Point USA now that Charlie Kirk is gone. Because she wanted to be the one. Because she already said she thought she was going to be in the inner circle after Charlie Kirk was gone. She thought she was going to be added to the group chat. While they add her, she does not work for Turning Point USA. Erika Kirk is in charge. She has the power to fire and to hire. If you don't like what she's doing, too bad. Suck it up, buttercup. All right, let's continue.
I was telling you, like UVU, there's just a lot of Russians and people who study Soviet studies. Even the president of UVU majored in Soviet studies. Tyler Boyer majored in Soviet studies. He's a fluent Russian speaker. He spent years. And I'm going to assume when I say they speak Russian, that they're probably more tied to Ukraine, like kind of coming full circle on that, because a lot of times people wrongly assume people.
Guys, so here she's showing. You see what I'm saying? So now she's showing, she's sending you. So she has known this Tyler Boyer for quite some time. Are you telling me Tyler Boyer learned to speak fluent Russian since September 10th? Is Candace Owens just finding out now that he speaks fluent Russian? So Candace knew about this information that this guy speaks fluent Russian. What did she do? So first of all, right? So what if this guy speaks fluent Russian? And if Candace had an issue that this guy speaks fluent Russian, why didn't she say something about it prior to Charlie Kirk? And what does him speaking Russian got to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk? And she's telling us they're speaking Russian, but she's just going to assume it's Ukrainian. It's not Russian. Why are you tying it to the Ukrainian? Why can't it just be Russia? They have orphans in Russia too. So now she wants to pigeonhole Ukraine. So I don't know what Zelensky has done to Candace Owens. I can understand the Jews with the prime minister, but I don't get how Zelensky has entered this issue. I can understand Egypt because that was the Egyptian plane. But what is the connection? So you are telling me because this guy is, what's this what she's saying? This guy speaks Russian, but she's just going to assume it's Ukraine. Now, that's it. Zelensky had something to do with Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was speaking against Ukraine. Guys, I don't know, you know. Hey, hopefully we don't go crazy after this together. Night God, good to see you. I prefer his wife being CEO and not his best friend who can't provide evidence. They were even communicating in 2025. Hey, man, I think Candace looks like she like, well, if she just wishes she was there, even if she wasn't CEO, she would have maneuvered her way, so she ended up being in charge. Yeah, so John Root was let go because, like, John Root used to call out the ecumenicalism that was happening at Turning Point USA Faith, the Sean Voigt and all these other things. A lot of these false teachers and everything. So he's the one over there. Everybody else is, Catholics, Mormons, all these other things. And they'll be like, you know what, you gotta go. And I think Driscoll was also involved. And allegedly Driscoll was also involved. Look at the people. Driscoll is out there being platformed by Turning Point USA. Rob McCoy, all these false teachers. So what else can come out of that? Yeah, so, but Erika is in charge. So why is she trying to overstep her? Very disrespectful. Candace came out and said that why are they rushing to the succession plan of Turning Point USA? She needs to figure out what happened to Charlie Kirk first. And then later on, they can talk about the succession plan. That's what she says. Consider Mormon believer. No, this is a problem. You know what I mean? People can be conservatives and not Christians. So because Mormons are conservative, people just think, oh, they're just one of us, right? Because, if you're a Christian, you're conservative. You can be a conservative and not a Christian. You see what I'm saying? Muslims are conservative. Mormons are conservative. So this is what happens. The Christians, this person is conservative. They just bring everybody else inside the tent. And now the tent is so wide. Now you have Sean going to all this, they're calling it revival. No, that's not revival. He's going out there to enrich himself, and then they're going there with the Charlie Kirk, because right now Charlie Kirk currency is hard right now. Okay, it is so hard. Yeah, those people don't read their Bibles. Yes, no wonder this is what's happening. Yeah. Some woman whose daughter, my daughter, is friends, says, oh, okay, wonderful. Greetings. Thank you for that. I appreciate. All right, guys, let's finish up with Mrs. Farmer. Here we go.
People who speak Russian are Russian. And actually, Ukrainians, until they made a law, they had to stop speaking Russian quite recently, were Russian speakers, right? Because it's Russia and it's their home. So it's interesting to consider that there are a lot of, I think even Mikey McCoy's wife might be Ukrainian. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that's something that I think is interesting as well, or could be interesting. It might not be interesting, but definitely on the Tyler Boyer front, it's very interesting. He was involved with orphanages in the Ukraine, posted about helping Russians.
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so exhausted. Okay, so I want you to know. So she's bringing this information like in passing, but it's not in passing, okay? This is by design. So Erika Kirk, her family was also involved in orphanages in, what is that country? In Europe. I forgot the name of the country, okay? But they were allegedly, there were some weird things that took place, okay? That's involving these orphanages and everything. So notice, she's going to bring everybody else and just skate around, but mentioning the name Erika Kirk. Because right now it's Tyra Boyer, it's Mike McCoy, it's Rob McCoy, okay? Guys, all these other people were working while Charlie Kirk was there. If Charlie Kirk didn't want them, he could have fired them. So he didn't. So that concludes that he was happy with them. If he wasn't, he could have fired them. Okay? Right now, is Erika Kirk in charge. These people are there. So she can either fire them, as far as we know right now, they're still working for them, so she's happy with the arrangement. So this woman is trying to bring in, everybody should be looking at these people funny. Look at Rob McCoy. It's all the people who are at the top. The ones that people see with Turning Point and everything. She has put something, question mark on them. So if all these people are gone, supposedly, like let's just say they're all let go and everything else, then what else is left with Turning Point? You see? Yeah, so I'm like, oh my gosh, Erika Kirk, I hope your eyes are wide open.
Speaking orphans or whatever it is, years ago, I'm talking 10 years ago, I just don't like it. I don't like it. The vibes don't feel right. What was going on?
This, you see, she said that was 10 years ago. Why did you say something about it 10 years ago, Candace? Why are you bringing it up now? Why are you saying about, why are you bringing it now? So all of a sudden, the vibes are not vibing 10 years later. Because if you were serious about this issue, you could have talked about it 10 years ago. You could have talked about it when you were there, but you didn't. So you bringing it up right now, it's irrelevant, okay? If I was Erika Kirk, I'll be promoting those people and I'll be, paying them more money right now, okay? Giving them bonuses and making it public just so this girl can get the message.
Why was Turning Point, what was their campus doing? Why are people at Turning Point saying they don't know where the money's coming from? Why is no one seem to be grieving him in the right way? Why does it feel to me like a hostile takeover of a company? That's how I personally feel, okay? That's how I feel. I feel like this is a hostile takeover.
Guys, that is towards Erika Kirk. Okay, because it's not a secret, guys, okay? All the videos about Erika Kirk, like, okay, she's not grieving right. And to be quite honest, just like, yes, Erika. These other things, whatever, I could care less about it, right? But optics do matter. If you're a public figure, people are going to critique everything that you do, everything you say in public. So Candace is just not going to mention Erika Kirk because, she knows, okay? She knows that even her card followers, like, okay, they might not go there with her. But she is talking about Erika Kirk right now, okay? That she is not grieving right, according to Candace Owens. So, but she just doesn't want to mention Erika Kirk. But that's the stuff that's out there. So let's see here.
Over a company. And I feel that the company became bigger than Charlie because Charlie was too ambitious.
Why would it be a takeover of the company? Who has taken over Turning Point USA? Because all the people she's mentioning, these people were already working for Turning Point USA when Charlie Kirk was alive. The only person who was brought in to take over Turning Point after Charlie Kirk died is Erika Kirk, guys. Mark McCoy, chief of staff to Charlie Kirk. Andrew Covert, public spokesperson. This whatever, Tyler Boyer, CFO, all these other people. They were already working there. The only person who has joined in to be whatever on the payroll Turning Point is Erika Kirk. I repeat, Erika Kirk. So if she's saying that it's a hostile takeover, who has taken over Turning Point USA? Who are these people who have done this hostile takeover? Can you name names? To my knowledge, these people were already working for Turning Point USA. Rob McCoy was already there. The only one is Erika Kirk. So are you out here saying Erika Kirk is a hostile takeover? The company that was owned by her husband?
And Charlie trusted people, and he trusted that people were in it for the right reasons. And what I have learned in politics is people are hardly ever in it for the right reasons. Truly. If you are getting into politics, you think you're going to meet good people, you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind. In fact, if you have a lot of friends in politics, I probably already know that I can't trust you because I know what it takes to keep friends in politics. Friends of Charlie Kirk, look what they're doing. Cash Patel, Charlie had him on his show. Cash Patel should be the FBI director. He fought for that. Look how Cash Patel is acting. Right? 33 hours, wink, wink, Freemasons, wink, wink, wink. Oh, Tyler Robinson's file adds up to 33. Oh, the Freemason Lodge in St. George or in Utah.
Okay, Cash Patel doesn't work for Turning Point USA. He is the FBI director. And yes, this guy was out here tweeting, giving out information. He shouldn't have done that. That's not what FBI directors should be doing. Okay? It's just like, what are you doing? Fair point. But the reason why it's bringing about this director, apparently, allegedly, his girlfriend works for Turning Point USA. I know. So who knows why, Cash Patel is on the list.
Is number 33. It's like, we get it. Okay. This was an assassination at a very high level, and they do communicate with numerology. And if this sounds above your head, it's probably because you're not in my book club. But it is just, to me, the most sinister and sickening thing that these people can lay their heads on the pillow at night and they were just going to keep going, okay? I feel a lot is adding up and that more people need to look into Turning Point Faith. They need to look into NAR. Again, I would follow Village Crazy Lady on X. She's fantastic at research and she has been keeping them on their toes with research, and that is the area that she wants to go down. I can only chase so many rabbits, and I think what we have an understanding of is an apparatus that was about anything but faith, okay? I think actually, when I now look at the picture and I'm learning more about Rob McCoy and knowing that he was the co-chair in 2024 or maybe in 2023 of Turning Point USA, they believe, and this is why the Christian Zionism thing becomes so important, that they can hijack our emotions and tell us that it's our biblical duty to support the state of Israel, because I think the state of Israel is probably involved in what is happening at the border, in what is happening overseas. It is definitively involved in all these wars. I mean, everywhere you look, Israel pops up. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Congo. They'll be like, well, look at what the Christians being slaughtered in Congo. Oopsies, Dan Gertler, the diamond thing. How are they number one in the diamond trade? They don't live in a place with diamonds that grow. So like, I mean, what are we even talking about? Like, what are we talking about with this nation? What are we talking about? Charlie was a Christian Zionist because he believed that was true. And I actually believe it is a perversion of scripture. And I am begging you all, those of you who go to these mega churches, those of you who are evangelical, who follow these evangelical influencers, you are probably noticing about now that they are mum on the topic of Charlie Kirk. They want to move on. They want to let it be known that it's just a trans shooter. Not one of them is standing up and going, no. I spiritually feel that something is wrong. We all feel that something is spiritually wrong. And yet these people are trying to tell you that there's nothing to see here. That needs to be your wake-up call. If there is going to be a...
Who are these people, Candace Owens? Okay? So now she wants to beg these people to leave these mega churches and everything. Candace, that's not how it works. Okay? You need to tell them why they should live according to the scriptures. You just standing on your microphone telling people to leave these mega churches, they're not going to leave. Why would they leave? They're there for a reason, Candace. Okay? They're just not going to leave because Candace has told them to leave. You need to prove why they shouldn't be going to these mega churches, which unfortunately Candace is not equipped to do anything else. So once again, it's the Jews, okay? Like, okay, why do they have, so number one in diamonds and everything else? Like, okay, Africa is rich with resources, okay? Gold, diamonds, all these other things, but how rich is Africa? Mm-hmm. Compared to Europe and Western countries, and yet they are rich in resources. So that like, just stop it, Candace, okay? That doesn't mean anything. So with all those things, how is those things connected to what happened to Charlie Kirk? Can we get the connection there? None. So right now it's just this, Zionism, that's unbiblical and everything. I just like, you know what, Candace, if you don't know what you're talking about, I think you should just let it go. But this is the problem. She has so much hatred with the Jews. So all she sees over there is Zionism everywhere, okay? These people, they just know Zionism because they're, quote unquote, they have their reasons. You might not agree with it, but this is their thing, okay? This is their thing. So I think right now she's noticing that this Turning Point USA is slipping away because these people are moving on. They are packing events. They are inviting people, and the train has left the station. Whatever else Candace Owens is doing, it's not derailing what's happening in Turning Point USA. The chapters are adding. It's growing, all those other things. She has a case to me as far as this Turning Point USA faith is concerned. The ecumenicalism, okay? Like, no, if it's going to be about the scriptures, if it's going to be about the faith that's Christ, then we cannot be associated with these false teachers, okay? But because it's so much big tent, all these other false teachers and everything, yes, you can call it whatever faith, what faith? Oh, Christ, which Jesus? So there's a case there to be made. But Candace Owens is not one to make this case because she's not doing it to bring people back to the scriptures, okay? She's talking about these things to burn Turning Point USA down, to discredit these people, for these people to lose their jobs and everything. It's nothing to do with the biblical truth. It's about to satisfy Candace Owens' desires. That's what it is.
A turning point, it is not going to be the one that they expected. Okay, I sense that. There will be a turning point, but it is not going to be the one that they're banking on, where a bunch of Christians are sold slop and are told that it is their God duty to support the nation of Israel, while looking away from the fact that they're acting real weird in the hours after Charlie's assassination, doing way too much. Man is cartwheeling to tell you they had nothing to do with it. They are asking you to set aside your instinct, your gut instinct, your God instinct. You recognize something is wrong. That's why you're watching this show. You are recognizing that the people around Charlie are not acting in the way that they should be acting, that their emotionality is not meeting the moment of violence that we all witnessed. Instead, they're turning on me. They're making videos about me for investigating. They're lying to you about where Charlie was on his faith journey. That's hush hush. The Catholic thing must stay hush hush. Why? It's all kind of adding up, right? They're attacking Tucker Carlson because he's attacking Christian Zionism. They're angry at Charlie because it's looking like he might get off the Christian Zionist reservation, because that's what it is, okay? That's a plantation. And
so this is the problem, okay? She's correct on this one, okay? This idea, the Charlie Kirk, this Catholic thing kept coming up, okay? They be like, oh no, he wasn't Catholic. That's what they say. He's going to the mass. Oh no, he wasn't Catholic. Oh, the Catholic priest came to the, oh no, he wasn't Catholic. Allegedly, funeral mass. Oh no, it wasn't a funeral mass. It wasn't a Catholic mass. Oh, cemetery, all these other things, right? So it's just like, okay, guys, what exactly is going on over here? There shouldn't be this so much ambiguity, somebody who professes faith, okay? But because they are so intertwined, the Mormons, the Catholics, the evangelicals, the Catholics don't understand what's wrong with Charlie Kirk to be associated with us. We don't believe the same things. That's why the evangelicals are like, no. So those guys at this point, what? They know if they say that, evangelicals are going to take a step back. What are they doing? What are they hiding? They want to protect the brand, because that's not good information to come out if you ask me, and they kind of say, oh, why are you hiding? Why are you hush? So now when some of these things proven to be true or wrong, then people will be going looking, what else have you guys been hiding? What else have you guys been lying? Because they came out and say like, oh no, he would go to the Catholic church, but he wasn't a Catholic person. Okay, no problem. If that is the case, what about these issues about the Catholic Mass, about him being buried at the Catholic thing? What about that? That is a legitimate thing. Like, no, this is not just something on the wayside. But once again, this is Candace Owens. So when that issue is proven to be true, how is that going to work out? And where are this stuff coming from to begin with? Because, we don't know where John MacArthur was buried. You know what I mean? We don't know what happened at the funeral. But are we questioning that it was a Catholic funeral mass? That he was buried at a Catholic seminary? Same thing with Vody. Why are these issues surrounding Charlie Kirk? Why are these issues surrounding Charlie Kirk? So, to me, just like this is not good. Because they open that tent so wide, you are one hand with the Jews, one hand with the Mormons, one hand with the Catholic. We don't believe the same things. All of them are conservative for sure. All of them have no problem voting MAGA. Then we have the New Apostolic Reformation in there. Just like, no wonder. What is Sean doing here? Like, you telling me of all the pastors, good pastors in Arizona, Mark Driscoll? Mark Driscoll, a disqualified pastor. Where is the discernment? So now you have Candace Owens with this platform coming in for Turning Point USA.
What they are mining is your emotion. What they are mining is your belief in God. And there's no question in my mind. It is corrupt, but it is also dangerous. It's dangerously corrupt. And I think that Charlie learned this lesson the hard way. I'm appreciative to all of you guys who are sending me emails. You're worried about my safety. Please stop sending those, okay? I understand what I'm doing. I have read my messages over and over again with Charlie, ones that I have not even revealed. And this, to me, feels like a Christ mission to wake up the world and make them aware of what snake it is that has wrapped around all of the nations. And it does so in the name of God. In the name of God. Christian Zionists are telling you to support a nation, okay, that has mass murdered children. You can watch the videos. They're telling you to do this because it is your biblical duty.
Selective outrage. Okay, selective outrage. Once again, where is the video of Candace Owens right now? Christians are being killed left and right in Nigeria. Whatever. Is it Boko Haram? The Fulanis out there, they're killing the Nigerians, Christian Nigerians. They're killing them. Children, women, the entire village. Where is the video about Candace Owens about that? I don't see it. So if she's so concerned about Christians, if she's so concerned about this issue, where is the video about that? I don't see it. And this is the talking point. People be like, okay, whatever Israel's genocide, whatever, that is not true by definition. Okay? Children died there. Have they been killed? Yes. Those are the things that happened with the war. It's bad. We don't want people to die, but these are happening. Where is Candace Owens' video outrage when the U.S. were at war with Iraq in Afghanistan? Did children die? Did women die? Where is that outrage? I don't see it. So this selective outrage, it does not jive. So now all of a sudden, this is a Christ mission. Guys, Christ mission via Candace Owens. She doesn't even know the scripture herself. How is this going to be a Christ mission? On what ground? On what basis? So it's just like, oh my gosh. Guys, let's finish up, okay?
When are you going to wake up? Charlie Kirk.
Candace, we are awake. The question is you. When are you going to stop misleading people with this misleading information? When are you going to repent? The message for you, Candace, repent and believe the gospel. Stop with this. Stop it. If there is nefarious thing going on at Turning Point, the Lord God will take care of it. Vengeance belongs to him. He will repay. You be faithful by first and foremost repenting and believing the gospel. So what you're doing, she thinks she's in a crusade for Jesus. No, you're not.
He was the number one Zionist for a very long time, Christian Zionist for a very long time. Look at how they are treating him now that he is dead. They are lying on his name. You have to wake up, okay? It is my mission to share this information with you to get you to wake up, because I think Charlie was right. I think there was something about me and him together, okay, that was, I don't know, like just meant to happen, you know? Not in the way that some of you guys are interpreting that. The kid, he was literally my kid brother, but I mean...
No, Candace, you are a married woman. Charlie Kirk was a married man. You leave it alone. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. This is not good. Okay? Leave it alone. This is not good. But that's why I'm like, George Farmer, come get your girl. Where are you? So no, what you're doing, the way you're acting does not jive. That Charlie Kirk was your little brother. And if he was your little brother, is this how you repay your little brother? Is this how you repay your little brother? I'll say no. So this idea, thinking that you are the only one who is doing something about it, you are absolutely wrong. And who are these people who are lying on the name of Charlie Kirk? Can you name names? Who are they?
Like there was a higher calling to his assassination, which he knew was coming. He knew he was going to die. He said from the time he started Turning Point USA that his life was going to be short, and he knew that I would be the one to fight for him. He knew that it was going to be me that was going to be the one that would fight for him. He knew that I would be his David, and it is that relationship that we described yesterday, the David and the Jonathan. He was my friend, okay? I watched him work, but more than anything else, I laughed with him. He was my friend. And you are not meant spiritually to watch your friend catch a bullet in the throat. And you've got two things after that happens that you can do, okay? You can run from it. You can run from it and say, I don't want to end up like him. Or you can fight like hell to find out who did it to him. And I have chosen option 2. All right? I'm going to take some of your comments after we get back from this brief break.
So there you have it. She is going to take care of it because she is the one who was supposed to do this. Nobody else, not Erika Kirk, nobody else but Candace Owens. And she's going to do it. Okay? And she's going to do it. So there you have it. I just like it, Candace. Oh, man, this is, I don't think she's going to stop. I actually do believe she believes what she's saying, and she's on a crusade. And then when people like her are on that zone, there's nothing you can say or you can do. And when people are propping her up, saying like, yeah, keep going and all that, it's just fueling her, you know? But I didn't see anything. She has motive, intent, and it's not out of love of her best friend. It's jealousy. That's exactly what it is. Ownership and money, it's yes. She's trying to sell her. Absolutely. That's it. You are so right, Soraya. That's exactly what I see. Nothing else. Talkie, greetings. Thank you for being here. He was grounded in his faith, and it was not Catholicism. He had very specific why he was not a Catholic, and he was very vocal. Everybody, he did not believe he was grounded. Because she's not going to stop on this issue because she's trying to prove the point of this issue. Because, she said, she used to tell Charlie, just cross over. You're too smart to be a Protestant. You know what I mean? Come on over. So that's what you're going to get with this one. Yes, guys. So that is Mrs. Farmer. She's not going to stop because this is her mission. So I think of all the videos that she has done, this one, she has come hard on Erika Kirk on this one. Because people are not grieving right. They are not, doing things right, or these other things. Who is she talking about? Who is she referring to? Who are these people who are not grieving right? Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. All right, even the lights have gone off. So it's time for us to go off as well. All right, guys, I am so glad that you were here. I appreciate your viewership. You guys are simply... Yes, you guys are simply the best. Yes. So let's continue this conversation in this section because what?
All lies will be exposed.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're going to do. But we want...
Some of y'all better get y'all discernment together.
Exactly. We want Candace to get her discernment together. But all in all, guys, this is what she's doing. Candace, she has children. She has millions of followers who are believing, hanging on every word that she is presenting. So, pray for her. She has a husband. She has a family. So this is not just in a vacuum. We already did a video. People react. They act upon the things that she says. Okay? So pray for people, all these other people who are involved, and pray for her eyes to be open. Because you cannot tell me somebody who is regenerate, who knows Jesus Christ, who is a believer, who is truly saved, can be doing what she's doing. That's just impossible. So it shows that her heart is not changed. She is not a new person in Christ. That's why she cannot fathom why people have these allegiances to Israel. She cannot get it. So now she can't. That's out of her wheelhouse. Okay? She needs to be transformed by the word of God. Then she'll be able to see some of these things. Nobody was meant to see what happened to Charlie spiritually. Then who? We do live in a foreign world. Things like that do happen. But those things, they're a reminder of us to get our affairs in order to be living our lives according to the truth, according to the scriptures. Okay? But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm going to let you guys go. Stay tuned. More coming. Let's continue the conversation in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Double check to make sure you're a subscriber. Follow me Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. On your way out, be sure to like this video. Until next time, remember, theology matters. Thank you.